The New York Times bestseller Treason, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich missed. I keep going back to the statement. He's answering Al Frankenstein's question. It couldn't be any more clear what he's saying here. And you see the hysteria, the breathlessness. And I want your reaction. What do you think is going on here? Because it's deeper. Any person with common sense would see what this is. Go ahead.
No. First of all, Donald Trump yesterday had a great day in the media. His speech was a home run. Everything was going well. And surprise, surprise, the Washington Post and the New York Times come up with another fake news story that has no meaning. And they're shocked to discover, for example, that the Russian ambassador was one of 30 people, to their credit. Even the Post downplayed this and recognized that it was so stupid it was embarrassing. There are apparently like 30 ambassadors who come up to congratulate Sessions at the Republican National Convention at a Heritage Foundation reception. They're all just standing around talking. This is supposed to be the big meeting. The other thing was, he was very clear. Franken asked him about campaign activities. He said, I never discussed them with the Russians. It turned out the Russian ambassador came by to the U.S. Senate office in his role as a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee and is one of, I think, 46 ambassadors that he's met with. But here's what I'm intrigued with, Sean. I watched the press conference. He said, I asked my team to advise me. They told me I should recuse myself. I am following their advice. I'm going to make sure this is all clear. It was pointed out to him that the president had said maybe he shouldn't, and he proved his independence. He did what he thought was right, not what he thought the White House wanted. Now, I want to see how the New York Times and the Washington Post spin this. I mean, here's a guy who's done exactly what they said he should do. And he's done it for the right reasons. He's done it in a way that proves he's independent. And it'll be kind of nice tomorrow in my fantasy life to imagine a editorial in the Post and an editorial in the Times congratulating the Attorney General for doing the right thing.
But they're the modern day version.
It may not happen.
They're the modern day Pravda. I mean, let's be honest here. They're not real news anymore. They're advocacy news. All of this is predicated on this Clinton conspiracy, another conspiracy, that in fact the leaked emails of John Podesta and Hillary Clinton's emails there was a collusion between the Russians and the Trump campaign. Now, last week, as we pointed out, Devin Nunes said, no, there's no evidence whatsoever. How do they keep pushing something that we don't have any evidence for?
Well, but see, the great virtue of fake news is it's fake. I mean, you keep trying to apply a standard as though these were real newspapers, or as though NBC and CBS were real news agencies. They're not. This is all fake. We're going to get it for 8 years under Trump, and if he's succeeded by a Republican who's in the Trump tradition, we're going to get it more. They just make it up.
Right.
They don't have to have any kind of.
Well, let's go back.
But I want to go back to what I said, though. Come on. I want to put you on the spot.
All right. Put me on the spot.
Well, I'm going to volunteer to come on the show tomorrow, the radio show.
Yeah.
And let's discuss the editorials in the New York Times and Washington Post, and let's see if they have the guts to say that Jeff Sessions did the right thing.
They really wanted him to resign, but I think it's a larger conspiracy here, in as much as they want as much collateral damage. That's why they go after Reince, Kellyanne, Jared, Ivanka, Melania, even their 10-year-old son, the president's 10-year-old son, and then General Flynn. In the case of General Flynn, though, just 2 weeks before the president leaves office, he allows intelligence conversations. Remember, when Americans are identified in a conversation that is being recorded of a foreign entity, they're supposed to minimize what they're recording in terms of the American speaking. But that information gets leaked. But just before he left office, President Obama allowed the information to be shared with 16 other intelligence agencies. Do you suspect, as I do, that he did it for the very purpose that information would be leaked and leaked and leaked to damage?
Of course.
No doubt.
Of course.
I agree.
Look, we're not. Everybody who cares about this has to understand. We're not playing in a game that's fair. This is a cultural civil war. There are no holds barred. The other side is losing, and they understand that if they continue losing, that their entire power structure, their entire value system is going to end up being crushed. And so every day that Donald J. Trump does something terrific, they get madder and they get more frightened and they become weirder. This is going to go on. Also remember, in the Federal Election Commission reports, 95% of all the bureaucracy donations in Washington went to Hillary. 97% of the donations at Justice went to Hillary, and 99% of the donations at the State Department went to Hillary. Now, what do you think the probable bias is of an organization in which more than 9 out of every 10 people who are giving money gave it to the other team?
I think that question answers itself. All right, we'll continue. More with Newt Gingrich right after this break and coming up next tonight.
Tonight, I am also calling on this Congress to repeal and replace Obamacare.
President Trump says Obamacare's days are now numbered, so will Republican lawmakers help repeal and replace it? Is there a problem? And by the way, in this show, we are holding Washington and Republicans accountable. Plus, the economy is already seeing significant gains. In this program, we have promised you that we'll hold Washington and the Republicans accountable to their promises. And tonight, that's exactly what we're going to do. And we continue with former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. All right, so Senator Rand Paul today says that the bill that the Speaker is talking about is locked up, and nobody has an opportunity to read it. I talked to him earlier today, and he said it's locked up because there are things in there like the Cadillac tax that is being renamed and a mandate that remains, and that he and other conservatives and the House, the Freedom Caucus in the House, are against. What is your reaction?
Well, I don't think we'll know till we see it, but, you know, the legislative process takes a long time. Even if you're fast, it takes a pretty long time. So they may have staff working on the bill right now. It may be in seclusion in effect for right now, but it's going to become public. And the minute it becomes public, it's going to be on the internet, and you're going to have thousands of experts and lobbyists and others analyzing it within minutes. If there are really dumb things in the bill, they'll be obvious in the first 24 hours. Then it'll have to go through an amending process. I mean, I have great respect for Speaker Ryan. He and I have both held that job, and it's a tough job. But in the end, he serves his conference, and I think that if there are some things in there that are unacceptable, my guess is they'll be taken out.
It seems like there's a communication.
His challenge is...
It seems like there's a communication. When I talk to the Freedom Caucus members or Senator Paul, they're assuming that these things are in there, or they believe that they're in there, and it's nobody's talking to each other. Why not let us see the bill now? Why, if it's being scored?
Well, I think, frankly, the bill probably is not complete. I think that they're probably looking at it, fixing it, looking at things that don't quite fit, don't quite work. But the fact is, sooner or later, it's going to go to, I think, primarily the Ways and Means Committee in the House, but also potentially to Energy and Commerce, depending on how they have shaped the bill. Ultimately, it's going to go to the Senate. None of this stuff's going to happen overnight. And I certainly don't believe that the Republican leadership is going to try to do what Nancy Pelosi tried to do and Harry Reid tried to do with Obamacare. It would be a disaster to try to ram through something without having it out in the open, without making it amendable, without having a chance to talk it through. Nobody is smart enough to fix 20% of the American economy, a matter of life and death for every American, in secret. So sooner or later it's going to become public. But I also think what Speaker Paul Ryan said is absolutely true. Tom Price, the new Secretary of Health and Human Services, a medical doctor, spent years as a member of Congress working on this very issue.
I interviewed him many times.
Was chairman of the Budget Committee.
Yeah.
Well, and so they've got a guy at Health and Human Services who understands how to work with the House Republicans. He's very acceptable to the Senate Republicans. They're going to have to talk all this stuff through, and frankly, there'll be a lot of tension. I have no doubt that there will be amendments offered and that some of those amendments will pass. But that's the legislative process. I mean, that is how America is supposed to operate.
Okay, then you make me feel better when you say it. You said the other night you put it in a box. What do you need to get the bill passed? What do you need? I understand it's like making sausage. Right. It's complicated. It's also important, though. Right. I think one of the things that Americans like the most about the president, why his popularity is soaring and why people are coalescing around his agenda, is because he's keeping his promises. And I think it's so important that on every one of these issues, they don't really have a lot of time, even though they have both houses of Congress, do they? There is a period of time. Next year, we begin an election cycle again. Am I wrong?
Yeah, but look, yes, you're wrong.
Okay. Tell me where I'm wrong. Thanks a lot.
Here's
I
why
thought we were friends.
No, you're a good enough friend. I thought I'd just be straight.
Yeah, I know. Look, it's fine.
We passed welfare reform in the summer of an election year. And it got vetoed twice. We passed it 3 times. It got signed the 3rd time. Here's a very simple question. When people thoroughly understand this bill, do they think it's better for them? If the bill's better for them, I don't care whether it's the month before the election. It's going to be hard to stop it. Yeah. If they think the bill's worse for them, you're going to create a new Tea Party movement. So I don't have an artificial deadline. I think Speaker Ryan has said, with great sincerity,
200 days,
that he hopes to get everything done in 200 days.
Okay, fair enough.
That's, and I've said to you, by the way,
I am not saying any of this is easy.
You take taxes.
Go ahead.
Right. But you take taxes, infrastructure, and Obamacare. If they can pull those 3 off in 200 days, they'll have done more than Reagan did in '81 and more than we did in '95.
All right, well said. That you made me feel better today. Amazing for somebody just beating me down on my own show. It's unbelievable. Good to see you. And up next tonight, right here on Hannity.
To accomplish our goals at home and abroad, we must restart the engine of the American economy.
President Trump vowing to jumpstart the economy, and he's doing just that. Austin Goolsbee, Lou Dobbs, they battle it out coming up next. And later, meet another American hero featured in President Bush's book, Portraits of Courage. As